craziest way your parents asserted their control over you? In my house, every penny we spent had to be reported by 9 p.m. sharp. If you went even 1 cent over your weekly $20 budget, you slept in the garage. My 12-year-old sister spent 3 nights out there in January because she bought the $1.50 notebook instead of the 49-cent one for school. When she came back inside, her fingers were blue and she couldn't stop shaking, but she apologized to my father for being wasteful. I was 16 at the time, and I thought that's just how families managed money. So by the time I turned 17, I'd seen my cousin get hospitalized for hypothermia after a week in the garage, my aunt sneaking food to their kids, and my uncle teaching his son to forge receipts. We all had to submit every receipt, every bank statement, every proof of purchase to our parents daily. The rules were simple: stay under budget or sleep outside. No exceptions, no excuses. But then I noticed something that changed everything. My older brother never slept in the garage, ever. One day I saw him buying $60 worth of video games, and I waited for the punishment that never came. That's when I discovered my parents gave him triple our budget, but told him to keep it secret. I was taking economics that semester, and for a project on modern finance, I researched cashback apps and rewards programs. That's when I learned about receipt scanning apps that gave you money back, stores that gave cash for returns without receipts, and manufacturer rebates my parents didn't track. I started small, buying items, scanning the receipts for cashback, then returning them for full refunds. Within a month, I had an extra $40 saved up, but I couldn't keep this to myself. Not after my cousin ended up in the ICU with severe hypothermia and permanent lung damage from her week in the garage during a snowstorm. Not when my sister was developing chronic bronchitis from repeated nights outside. So I started a financial literacy club. Every Sunday at my grandmother's house, while the adults talked in the living room, I taught my cousins and siblings the tricks I'd learned. I showed them how to split receipts so one person could buy for many. I taught them basic photo editing to adjust receipt amounts. We created legitimate-looking purchase histories that hid our real spending. Most importantly, I showed them how to document the medical issues from garage punishments without our parents knowing. We got sophisticated about it. We had spreadsheets tracking who needed what, emergency funds hidden for those facing garage nights, and even a system for sharing warm clothes and blankets. Some kids learned to manipulate their spending records by $20 or $30, buying actual food while their parents praised their frugality. Then I discovered why my father was so obsessed with our spending. I found betting slips in his car, casino receipts, online gambling transactions. He'd lost thousands while forcing us to account for every penny. The man who made my sister sleep outside for $1 had blown our college funds at poker tables. Everything started falling apart when my father lost his job because of his gambling debts. He became paranoid, announcing new policies including surprise receipt audits and bank statement cross-checks. That's when my mother found our emergency fund during spring cleaning. $500 in small bills hidden in my closet. My parents dragged me to the kitchen and demanded I tell them where it came from. When I stayed silent, my father grabbed my sister, the one with bronchitis, and said she'd sleep in the garage until I confessed everything. I had 2 hours to decide. While I sat there trying to figure out how to protect everyone, my cousin, who'd been hospitalized, started recording my father on her phone. She got him admitting he knew the garage caused her lung damage, but that it taught good financial discipline. When the 2 hours were up, I told my parents I'd call everyone over to apologize and explain. They smirked, thinking they'd won. But when the family gathered, I didn't confess about the cashback schemes. Instead, I pulled out the gambling receipts, the casino photos, the betting account statements. I showed everyone how he'd spent $50,000 of family money while his children froze in garages. My cousin hit play on her recording. My mother heard my father casually discussing permanent lung damage like it was nothing. Then she found credit card statements showing charges at hotels when he was supposedly working late. The mistress he'd been funding with our grocery money. Everyone's eyes were opening, and just when they thought it couldn't get worse, it did. Full story on channel linked below.